Is that a term that is a bit offensive to like gatekeeper?
I don't know. I mean,
do you think it depends on where you are in your career then? If you get
yeah. Like if you're like 38 and you've been alternating wins and losses for your past 12 fights, you're pretty much a gatekeeper. And I don't know as anybody that's in that position would argue that they're not, or could argue very hard that they're not. I think some people kind of settle into that role. It's not. It depends on whether the person like hearing it, whether like say Jim Miller for example, right? Like Jim Miller's a fucking stud. He's an animal, but he's definitely a gatekeeper because the likelihood of him having another run at the title, especially in that division, is incredibly slim.
Yeah,
it's like he's had his career, and now what he's doing is he's bringing his best toolkit to the table, and he's trying to beat every single person they put in front of him for shits and giggles.
Yeah,
he's either doing that or he's hunting moose and stuff. So it doesn't really matter to Jim Miller at this point. And I think that's what makes a lot of gatekeepers really interesting when you watch them, because they do give a fuck because they want to keep winning, because they want to keep fighting, but at the same time they're like, yeah, well, I'm not going to get to the belt.
Yeah,
you might, but I'm going to try and stop you.
Like a little bit of pressure. Will you go into fights with a little bit less pressure? I
think
guess,
so,
because like this guy needs to beat me to get to where he wants to go, and I'm going to try and fuck that up.
Yeah, and and the other thing as well. I mean, like gatekeeper, I think some people would feel a bit offended by it, but it actually infers like quite a strong position in the sport.
Yeah.
Like if you're a gatekeeper, that means you've already proven to be a tough test.
Mm-hmm.
Like you could have 3 losses in a row and we still know that you're going to be a motherfucker to fight. Right?
Yeah.
Like Cowboy's always going to be a handful. It doesn't matter whether he's a gatekeeper or not. Like you could go through the list. Like there are loads of guys that I would consider to be in that status. It's guys that, in fact, I've got the rankings here. like if you look at some of the core divisions, like lightweight, say, who we got? Like I would say like Brad Riddell is an excellent fight to watch and a handful for most people in this division. If you find someone in the bracket of what? Well, he's ranked at 14, so 14 to 40, he's going to wreck them. He's going to cause problems for all of them, and he'll give everybody above him, up to maybe the top 3 or 4, a really tough test.
Yeah,
that classifies him in my mind as being a gatekeeper. Mm-hmm. But he's a tough son of a motherfucker. Like you don't want to fight that guy. Like I would say the Leech has kind of fallen into that category. He might not see it. He might think that one point he's going to be a UFC champion, but it's just I don't know. Kelvin Gastelum.
Yeah,
like is he ever going to be a middleweight champion? It's doubtful for me now, very doubtful. I don't think he's got that desire, that drive anymore. But he's a hell of a fight for a lot of the people in the middleweight division. You can see where they're at based on how they do against Gastelum.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's an interesting one. Like Mystery and I were talking about the idea of a journeyman the other day, which is a different thing to a gatekeeper. Because like a gatekeeper is someone that is firmly at a good level of the sport, where only the top echelon, top 10, 15 fighters in the world get past them. Mm-hmm. Everybody else gets ruined.
Yeah.
But then a journeyman is someone that comes much earlier on in a fighter's career, and we don't really have them in MMA too much. But it's someone that's got 30 or 40 fights, but they don't come to win. They come to fight. They come to, have a run out and, like give the prospects a test in their early few fights.
Like just another body or something.
A bit, yeah, but like an educated body, like an intelligent punch bag sometimes is what they look like. But I had a friend who he was a great amateur boxer. He had, I think, and then he had 4 pro fights. I won them all, but he fought the same guy twice in his 4 fights, and then for his 5th fight, they offered him the same guy again. And I think his name's like OJ Abrams. He was a boxing journeyman in the UK, probably still fighting every weekend. And he's had like 80 fights, and he's just really awkward and very clever at not getting knocked out. Mm. But I don't think you can do it in MMA. There's too many ways to lose, Do
you think? I mean, I don't know. But when you're a young fighter, you always have I assume you'd always have the dream of being champion. But do you think there's?
I don't know.
Yeah, because I was like, do you think people are like sometimes a bit more realistic in their own ability or their own? And it's like, well, I'm never going to be champion, but I'm a good fighter. I can, give a lot of people trouble. Do you think that is some people's mindset? Like,
I think all three apply. Like the one that stands out. Nigel Benn and Chris Eubank, right? So Chris Eubank always believed he was going to be the world champion. Always believed he was going to be the best. Like there was not a doubt in his mind. Nigel Benn was like, "Oh, I'll try and win the area title boxing," and then he won the area title, and he was like, "Oh, okay, I could win like the English title," and then he went and did that, and then you know what I mean? It was like every time he achieved a goal that he didn't think he was going to achieve in the first place, it was like, "We'll have a go," and then he kept achieving until he got to the same level, and then I think there are some guys that come in. So you've got the Chris Eubanks, the McGregors, the ones that believe they're going to be absolute world champion. There's no doubt about it. The guys that continually surprise themselves because they keep setting a goal and achieving it and then just kind of keep rolling on to the next one, and then find themselves in the UFC. They're like, holy shit, would you look at this? And then you've got the guys that are like, they just want to do it. They just want to be involved. They want to have a few fights. Maybe they'll win, maybe they won't. But like their idea of their relationship with the UFC will always be as a fan. And even when they're fighting on the local circuit in front of their mates at the pub, they're still massive fans of the UFC. And that's a different bracket again. And some of those guys can actually get really good. Like they can be, brown belts, black belts in jiu-jitsu. They can have a boxing or a kickboxing background. And then they come in and they're fighting a kid that's, started MMA 2 years ago and wants to fight. And they're real problems for them, because they've got a skill set somewhere that's going to be effective. Or they're very good at losing and, they just don't get hurt so they can keep doing it.
Yeah.
But they love the run out and the photos and the atmosphere and the attention and bit of cash, Sometimes the guy losing gets paid more.
Yeah.
You know?
More ways than one.
Yeah.
Yeah.